Today, we're going to tackle something that, let's be honest, gets to all of us. That desperate, nagging need for control. And we'll see how some really old wisdom can help us find a little peace by, well, letting go.
So let me just ask you this right off the bat. Is the real problem that life is unpredictable? Or is it your constant, exhausting fight to make it predictable? What if that need for certainty is actually the thing causing all the anxiety?
Okay, so first we need to dig into why letting go feels so impossible. We have to understand this powerful illusion that I like to call the certainty trap. It's this mental cage that tells us control is just around the corner and it keeps us completely stuck.
Look, this craving for control, it's not some personal flaw. It's not you. It's literally baked into our biology. Our ancestors, the ones who could guess where a predator might be or where to find food, were the ones who survived. So your brain is still running that ancient software. And that software screams, uncertainty equals danger.
But here's the massive disconnect, right? That old school threat detector is now getting triggered by things like a weird email from your boss or a text message you're not sure how to read. Your brain is reacting to psychological stress with the same red alert it once used for, a saber-toothed tiger. We're using this life or death operating system for low-stakes modern problems, and it is absolutely burning us out.
And this is just the perfect way to picture it. The philosopher Montaigne basically said, it's like trying to hold water in your fist. The more desperately you squeeze, the tighter you try to control life and force it into the shape you want, the faster it just slips right through your fingers. You're left with nothing but the feeling of failure.
This whole struggle puts us on what you could call a psychological treadmill. Think about it. You feel anxious, so you try to control things more. But trying to control everything just shows you how little you can control, which, makes you even more anxious. It's this vicious cycle that just goes round and round, and the only destination is total exhaustion.
So how do we get off this thing? The good news is we are not the first people to wrestle with this. Let's turn to a couple of brilliant minds from the past who actually figured out a way forward.
First up, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. This guy dealt with plagues, wars, betrayal, you name it. And he found his strength in this one single idea. You don't have power over what happens out there in the world, but you have absolute power over how you think about it. That's the one place where you're in charge.
And then there's Michel de Montaigne, who came at it from a slightly different angle. His favorite question was, what do I know? For him, admitting you don't have all the answers wasn't some kind of failure. No, it was freedom. It was giving yourself permission to stop pretending you're supposed to know everything.
The Stoics turned this into a really practical tool. They called it the dichotomy of control. It sounds fancy, but it's super simple. You just draw a line in your mind. On one side, you put the stuff you can actually control, like your own thoughts, your choices, how much effort you put in. And on the other side, everything else. The traffic, other people, the economy, even the final outcome of your best efforts.
Now, here's why that's a total game changer. When you really do this, you stop wasting all that precious energy trying to manage the unmanageable. So instead of spinning out about whether you'll get that job, which is an outcome you don't control, you pour all your focus into nailing the interview, which is an effort you do control. That shift right there, it hands you your power back and just turns the volume way down on your anxiety.
Okay, so that's the big idea. Sounds good, right? But how do we actually put this into practice when we're stressed out on a Tuesday afternoon? Let's build a practical toolkit for becoming more comfortable with uncertainty. So, the toolkit has 4 main parts. We're going to question what we think we know, practice looking inward, visualize challenges before they happen, and learn to embrace the fact that everything changes. Let's dive a little deeper into a couple of these, starting with one that might sound a little weird at first. This is a classic Stoic move called negative visualization. I know, it sounds super pessimistic, but it's actually an amazing tool for becoming more resilient. You just take a minute to really, genuinely imagine things going wrong. What if you don't get the promotion? What if that project fails? By walking through it in your mind, 2 things happen. First, it's not so terrifying anymore. You realize you'd probably find a way to cope. And second, you suddenly feel this huge wave of gratitude for everything that's going right now. And then, taking a page out of Montaigne's book, we have self-reflection. And this is not about beating yourself up. It's the opposite. It's about watching your own mind with a sense of curiosity, even compassion. Maybe try journaling without a filter, just to see what comes out. Notice your own weird contradictions. And, this is a big one, learn to laugh at yourself. Montaigne knew that a little bit of humor about our own flaws is the perfect antidote to that crushing need to be perfect. You don't have to be a statue. You just have to be you.
When you start to actually do these things, even just a little bit, something really remarkable begins to happen. You start to feel it, that profound sense of freedom that only comes when you finally let go.
And that gets us to the great paradox of this whole thing. All that energy you spend trying to control every little piece of your life, it doesn't actually make you free. It makes you a prisoner of your own expectations. Real freedom, that deep sense of peace we're all looking for, it's found in the incredibly brave act of just accepting things as they are.
The Stoics had a pretty wild name for this ultimate goal, amor fati, which means a love of one's fate. And it's a truly radical idea. It means you don't just tolerate what happens to you, you embrace it. You decide that every obstacle, every failure, every bit of bad luck is actually fuel. It's raw material that you can use to become wiser, braver, and stronger. And that's the moment you stop wrestling with reality, you can finally just relax. You can feel your shoulders drop. Your mind gets a little quieter. And let's be clear, this is not giving up. It's the exact opposite. You're taking all that energy we were wasting in the fight, and you're finally using it to live your life, your actual life, more fully.
You know, this whole thing really boils down to one simple but incredibly powerful shift in your thinking. It's all about the question you ask yourself when things get messy.
The anxious mind, the one that's stuck on that treadmill, it's always asking, how can I control this? It's a question that almost always leads to a dead end. But the wise mind asks a much, much better question. How can I respond to this wisely? And that question always has an answer, because your response, that is always, always up to you.
So just to be crystal clear, the goal here is not to somehow get rid of uncertainty. That's impossible, right? Life is uncertain. That's part of the deal. The real goal is to change your relationship with it. To go from seeing uncertainty as this monster you have to fight to seeing it as just the dance floor of life.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to just kind of chew on. What if we've all been reading the instructions wrong this whole time? What if life isn't some big problem that you're supposed to solve, or some machine you're supposed to control, but what if it's just an experience that's asking for one thing from you, your full, undivided presence?